What's happening, all y'all? This is your main man, Frank Kern, coming to you. Just knocked over my other water bottle. Hang on a minute. Did that on purpose because we're on camera. Hope everybody's doing well. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. I'm coming to you using this little app called StreamYard, which is pretty cool. I just recorded a an on-demand class, and I figured I'd do it live for you here on the Facebooks, just to kind of keep the chops up, you know, help you out. So I've been testing some stuff out. Found a pretty simple way to get clients, kind of fast, pretty cool. Might work for you. You never know. If you like what you see during this webinar and you want to brainstorm with my office on getting you more and better clients, go to kerncall.com. If someone would type that in the comments for me, that sure would be helpful. KERNCALL.com. Okay, now let's see here. Yes, we are live for the 10 people who actually ever wonder about that. It is 4:05 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, the 12th of February. Now, let's see if we can make this thing work. All right. I'm going to try to share my screen with you. Let me pull up the slides. And I got like all kinds of different windows I want to share with you. Let's first see if I can get to you. Okay. Share screen. Okay. Let's see. And share this screen number 1. All right. So you probably got like that weird look. There we go. So hopefully, excuse me, hopefully you guys can see the screen now. So I can't see you at all. I guess taking over both monitors. So hang on. Tell me in the comments if you can see the screen, like full screen, as I've got this thing going. I've escaped it for a minute just so I can see what you got over there. Were y'all able to see that? I think there's like a 30-second delay or something on the Facebooks. How do you say it in English there? Blanking comments. Yeah, tell me if you were able to see that screen there. All right. Well, yes, sweet. Okay, cool. So I'll go back to full screen mode. Thank you, by the way, for telling me. All right. So the name of the official presentation is an extremely simple way to get clients. I built this thing in here to make a note of how much an average client is worth to you, but it's really irrelevant. Actually, I don't know why I put that into the recording that I did earlier. This is live, by the way. But anyway, check this out. So this is all for people who sell stuff via a conversation. So if your sales process involves getting a qualified person to raise their hand and ask you for a consult, then that's what this is all about. And if your sales process that, obviously you're welcome to stick around, but I don't want to waste your time. Okay, so let's take a look at what you're being taught right now to do for client acquisition. And you're being taught this because it works pretty good, by the way. This is a pretty fair assessment of the normal way that we get clients online for higher ticket stuff. Numero uno, create a bunch of Facebook ads. Pretty good idea. Number 2, drive them to register for an automated webinar. Number 3, hopefully they show up, and they watch the webinar and therefore request a strategy session, although the proper pronunciation obviously is strategery session. We all know that to be true. And then, talk to the ones that you want to talk to, and then you sell them or you don't. Right. And so that's the normal way. It totally works. It's awesome. It's 100% worth doing. However, you don't actually have to do it that way. I want to show you the numbers involved when you use that method. And these numbers aren't bad. They're just real. And they're kind of glazed over on all the big ticket webinar pitches, like it doesn't really kind of go into the material facts of this thing. So the normal way, works like this. Kind of like I said, you make a bunch of Facebook ads and show them to people who don't know you typically, and then they register for an automated webinar. And the purpose of the automated webinar is for you to build a relationship with them, so they feel like they know you and like you and trust you and all that kind of good stuff. And so assuming they show up, which most don't, and then assuming they stay till the end, which most don't, and that's normal, by the way, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the system. The ones who do stay, hopefully, if the content was good, they end up getting value from it. And as a result of those value, or of that value, some of those people will apply for a strategery session with you. And then some of those people actually can buy from you. If you've ever done this model, like the ratio of qualified people to non-qualified people can be a little skewed sometimes. And some of those qualified people actually show up, and then some of those people buy. And that's kind of how it is, and it's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but them's the facts. If you look at the numbers, here they are. Okay, so here are all the steps, right? I just outlined, and let's look at the numbers. So usually, you run ads on Facebook or wherever you want to run them to a webinar registration page, and let's just say it costs you $5 to get a webinar registrant, right? So I don't know how much it costs you. I think $5 is relatively standard issue, at least in terms of our space, the B2B space. It's a little cheap, actually, $5, but whatever, easy number to work with, right? So does everybody who registers show up? No. Does everybody who shows up stay long enough to see the pitch? No. Let's say, like, for the sake of easy math, that 50% of everybody who registers for the webinar shows up and stays long enough to see the actual pitch to apply for a strategy session. Well, that means that it costs you $10 to get someone to see the pitch, right? Got a little math there. Okay, so does everybody who sees the pitch, do they all apply for a strategy session with you? No, unfortunately, most don't. I'm pulling these numbers out of the air, by the way. If your numbers are different, it's fine. This is relatively standard, but by no means does it mean like set in stone or whatever. But let's say 10% of those people who see the offer, who hear you say, hey, you can apply to have a strategy session with me, whatever, 10% of them apply. Well, that means now it costs you $100 per application. And that's relatively standard from my experience anyway. Now, is everybody who applies going to be qualified and like actually be able to buy your stuff? No. Usually about 1 in 4 are, give or take, So if we take that, then that means it's $400 to get a qualified applicant. All right. Now, does every applicant actually show up and have a conversation with you? Unfortunately not. So let's say half of them do, which is about normal. That means it's $800. That's what it costs to have a qualified conversation with somebody, right? So $800 using this model with all of these statistics and everything to have a conversation with a qualified lead about buying your high ticket stuff. Fine. Are you going to close every single conversation? Well, we don't. We're about, I don't know, sometimes better, but hovering around 33%. All right. So assuming that was your close rate, then the cost to acquire a customer would be 24, 24, 24, which is like a weird number. Kind of, that's just how it worked out there, but around $2,400. All right. And you know what? Totally viable model. No problem. Right. So if whatever you're selling has a big enough margin, who cares? Your program's 10 grand, 8 grand, 5 grand, whatever, like you're getting more back than you're putting in. So you're in good shape. However, all right, you ain't got to do it this way. And if you think about it, with the normal way, this right here, this is really where everything starts to happen, right? Like if someone doesn't see the offer, if they don't get the valuable content from you and then see that offer for a strategy session, then none of this other stuff over here, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but none of this other stuff's going to happen, right? So what if we like cut out the making them register for a webinar and stuff and just focused on getting people to see the offer? Well, if you could focus on just that, it would be pretty sweet, right? So you have people actually see the offer and then they apply and they're qualified and they show up and then they buy. Well, let me show you something. Okay. I'm testing this right now. So let me escape here and bring you, and hopefully y'all can still see my screen and everything. The comment thingy is like delayed or whatever. I can see a lot of y'all watching though. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. So I think you still see my screen. Yeah. I'm looking on the other monitor. So it looks like you still see my screen and it's probably pretty small. So here's what I've been testing. Okay. And this is just, I've been running this like particular thing since last Friday. So not super long. First thing I do, I'm showing a video about getting clients to total strangers. It's 5 minutes and 33 seconds. Let me zoom in here if this will work so you can see it better. All right. Yeah, that looks like weird on my screen. Sorry, I over zoomed. got a little overexcited with the Zoom. So all this is a video. So it's video views, ads. It doesn't really like, there's not anything anyone can do necessarily. And it's given content. It's 5 minutes, 33 seconds, showing it to strangers. I got 2 different little campaigns running. Now, let me show you something. It's cost me $600 since whatever, last Friday is what I've spent. And I've had 2,231 people see it. Now, the purpose of this one, all right, isn't really to get them to do anything. It's just to like familiarize them with me and demonstrate that I can help them. So if I take that 606 and divide it by 2231, it's costed me 27 cents to get someone to watch an entire 5 minute and 33-second video about getting clients and stuff. And that's who my market is. Now, check this out. Okay. So let me get rid of that and get rid of that. And I'll type in middle and I'll type in current call and I'll type in views. Okay. So now what happens is when someone sees those, now I start retargeting them with more content. And I got a bunch of videos here that are like all about, stuff like what I'm showing you now. And one of them, this is really fascinating. Okay. One of them is a live stream that I did. I think I did it on Friday. I was in a blue shirt and I was talking about how to actually like close people and everything. So this thing's like 19 minutes long. Okay. So it's like the equivalent of a miniature webinar. All right. So I've spent since the 7th up through yesterday. I'm not including today because there's always kind of a lag on Facebook. But on this one particular one right here, I spent $42. All right. And I've had 124 people watch the entire thing. So I'm going to do the math here. Math is not an exact science. I'm going to use my phone here. Hang on. 42.16 divided by 124, 34 cents. Okay. 34 cents. So my cost went up a little bit since I made my slides. It was 33 cents earlier. So it's costing me 34 cents to get somebody to consume the content and see the offer. All right. Which is crazy. So the question is, oh, dude, what's the ad look like and all that kind of stuff? Well, look, I'll show you. It's nothing. Hopefully y'all can see the screen over here. I know I've got it like kind of overly zoomed in and all that kind of stuff. It'll take 2,000 years probably to load because I'm streaming. But any day now, well, it doesn't want to preview here because we're streaming over Facebook Live. But it's just a video of me standing in front of the Jamboard. So like frozen images of the video. But it's a 19-minute ad where there we go. Yay. This is me talking, going, all right, man. Here's how to do some stuff. And if you want to work together, it's we charge $1,800 to get started, and go to currentcall.com and see if we're a good fit. All right. And so that's like the whole ad. 34 cents. Okay. So hang on. Let me now go back to the super fancy slideshow here. I think we're still showing the screen. I don't know. Okay. So let me ask you a question. Which one of these sounds more appealing? Right. So in the traditional method of client acquisition of running webinars, we learned that it costs about $10 to get somebody to show up and stay long enough to see the pitch if we're buying traffic to it. And I think really that's like an understatement of the cost. And you guys that run webinar ads would easily agree with me there. But which sounds better, $10 or 33 cents? I did my math wrong, by the way. It was actually 34 cents. Well, duh. Like obviously the 34 cents, not 33, 34 cents is a better deal. Okay. But I don't want to overhype this. Man cannot live off video views alone. So what I do is if somebody watches that longer form video or any of the other content, or I'm making the offer and like trying to be helpful, I'll probably turn this into an ad if Facebook will let me. Might be too much text because I'm doing a webinar of like slides at the same time. But anyway, if someone like watches that stuff, I show them more ads that make the offer again, right? That's like, hey, do you want to, have a strategy session with my office? And I tell them what we do. Like, hey, we help people like systematically and predictably generate qualified leads and help them turn those guys into clients. And it costs $1,800 to get started with us. Would you like a free consultation? So if you look here, this is what it's costing me per lead to get someone to fill out the application at kerncall.com from paid ads. All right, so 27.15. Okay, now don't want to be over hypey. All right. Once everything's said and done, because not everybody's qualified and all that kind of stuff, I'm paying a hair under $100 for a qualified conversation. So not all the leads show up. A lot of them are fake. Like I get some pretty funny first and last names in there. I'm sure you could all kind of guess what they might be, but funnel hacking type of stuff or whatever. So it cost me about $100 to get a qualified conversation, which is great. Now we close about 33%. We could close more, and I'm going to share our closing strategy and like our framework with you on this little presentation thingy, and you'll see why it's not super high. It's deliberate. But through this little methodology, I'm paying about $300 to get a client. Now, this isn't a super high ticket thing. By the way, it starts at $1,800. So it's not like a $40,000 offer or whatever, but still, dude, I'll take it. I mean, that's pretty good. It's a lot better than $2,400. You know what I mean? So it's pretty sweet. So what sounds better to you? And the old way is costing around $2,400 to get a client, like after everything shakes out. And the new way for me, and granted, this is relatively new testing for this methodology, it's about $300. I think the $300 sounds better. But you know what? Here is the dealio. All right. And it's so weird doing this live and not being able to see y'all on the other monitor, because I don't know how to do keynote, right? So this shows like the other slides on this other monitor. So I have no idea if you can see me right now or not. I could be talking to dead air. Anyway, here's the thing. Where do you think the real money is, right? And I'm like, obviously someone's got to see the offer in order for them to apply, and then for us to see if they're qualified or not. Well, the actual money is here, and that is getting qualified people. And it's real important to distinguish that. Qualified people on the horn wanting to deal with you. So if you can get qualified conversations and close sales, you're gold, right? And incidentally, there's other ways to get them besides like running ads. I just like the ads because they don't require manual labor like the other ways do. So that's why we're focused on ads. But you don't have to do ads. You can do it organically if you wanted to. However, I think it's, you're seeing the cost, so it's not like it's $1 billion. Anyway, let's talk about this qualified thing, okay? There's no point in getting qualified conversations, whether it's organically or through ads or whatever, pointless unless you can actually close the dang sale. All right. And that's kind of something that's left out of all of the high ticket webinars that I've been funnel hacking lately. They're all pretty good. So all you guys teaching that stuff, good job. Nice content you got out there. But there's not a lot of mention of the real numbers, and there's no real training on how to close and the reality of that situation. So the key to this whole thing is qualified conversation. So in the big ticket world, you got usually two methodologies. Method number one is you say, hey, have a strategy session with my office, and you never tell them how much it costs. And then you get someone on the phone and you don't know, the deal. And the whole time you're like waiting to present the price to them. And the whole time they're nervous about the price. And the method is typically like, you're supposed to, what is it? You find out how much pain they're in, right? Like how big the problem is. And then you like twist the knife in that pain, and then you let them come to the conclusion that unless they give you a whole bunch of money, they're going to be in pain forever. So that's method number one, which works if you've got the stomach for it. Method number two is to pre-qualify them. So here's what a qualified conversation means. And I prefer method number two. You don't have as many conversations, but why would you want to? If they're not going to buy from you anyway, what's the point? So here's how I define qualified conversation. Here we go. Okay. Number one, the prospect knows who you is. All right. They know you. They probably like you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be asking to talk to you. But I mean, maybe they're talking to you out of desperation. Probably not. They believe you can help them, and they want you to help them. That's the third criteria. Fourth criteria is they know what you do, right? Like you're watching this and you know what I do. I help people get leads and close them for high ticket stuff, among other things, right? And so you want the people you're talking to know what you do, and they know your prices. I've already said like 10 times already, probably, hey, you get started with our stuff for $1,800. That's important that they know your prices. All right. And they have the ability to pay you those prices. So that's a qualified conversation. So, in what I advise is you only talk to people who meet those standards. So, if you're ever going to be on a sales call, and I'm going to show you the framework for a sales call, you only talk to people who meet those standards. It's kind of the secret to having a high close rate without having to be like, hardcore and pushy and all that kind of stuff. So that's a big, big deal. Is that you disclose everything up front, and who cares if you don't get as many applications? Like, why do you want to talk to someone who's not really interested in what you have to sell and play that whole game? So before you ever try to sell somebody, so let's say you followed old Frankie's tips here, and you've got some people, and they're qualified, and you're scheduled to talk to them on Monday at 3, right? So before you are talking to them and decide to start telling them about your stuff, before that happens, you need to make sure these 3 things are in place. Okay. Thing number 1, you need to know exactly how you're going to deliver your results. And I know it sounds like patronizing, and I don't mean to. That's not my intention. But a lot of folks that we work with, sometimes they're not really clear on their offer, and they're like, well, I kind of am thinking about this or this, and sometimes I can do this and that and the other. And like, dude, before you're on the phone with somebody and they're like, okay, how does it work? You need to know how it works. So I know that's obvious, but it's important to clarify. Number 2, before you move into let me tell you about my stuff mode, you need to be 100% sure that you can help that person. You need to have absolutely no doubt in the world that you can help that prospect before you ever mention the possibility of you guys actually like seriously considering working together. And number 3, you need to know exactly how you're going to help them before you ever mention or begin that actual sales part of the conversation, right? And the reason why is because when you have that knowledge, it breeds confidence, right? So when you know with 100% certainty that you can help somebody, you're confident, right? And so if you've ever been in a sales call and you don't like really know for sure, you're like, I probably can help this dude or whatever, that lack of confidence comes through in your selling part of the call. And so when you got 100% certainty you can help them, now you're confident and you can say, like, I can definitely help you. I got you, right? And that's a big deal because you're saying it with sincerity and it comes through, and they can sense it, right? Also, when you know exactly how you can help them, it further increases that confidence. It erases any shadow of a doubt in your mind so that you're able to, when it comes into the selling part, not be pushy or whatever, but just be super confident. And finally, this is a third one that just has to be adopted as a belief system. When you truly understand that there is no shortage of prospects in the world, right? And therefore you don't really care if they become a customer or not, now you're super confident. So if you got these 3 right here, this is the trifecta for being super confident in your calls. Not like trying to be alpha or any of that stupid crap, but like actually being like, yeah, okay, I got you. What do you need to know? No worries. You got this. That's the position you need to be in. And the only way you can be in that is to have these 3 criteria met. All right. So let's say you're on the horn and you got, it's Monday at 3 or whenever we said the call was. It's rolled around. It's time for you to do it. All right. So first of all, you want to make sure you're confident. How do you build the confidence? Well, you use it, or you build it rather, using something called the confidence close. That's right. The confidence close. I made that name up earlier today, but it sounds good. It's a real structure. I just happened to make the name up earlier today. Kind of like the name. Okay. Here's how it works. You have somebody on the horn, right? Now remember, we're only talking to people who meet the qualified prospect criteria. They know you. They presumably like you. They believe you can help them. They want you to help them. They know how much you charge. They know what you do. And they probably, you never know for sure, but they probably can pay you. Therefore, it totally makes sense for you to begin the conversation after your usual pleasantries and stuff with something like this. hey, I'm guessing, you're having this call because you may or may not want my help in achieving some results in your XYZ business life, whatever. Uh, in the event that we did choose to work together, what would you hope to accomplish? There you go. There's your big neurolinguistic programming hypnotic opening statement right there. The reason you're asking this is so you can check box number one, which is to determine if you can, in fact, help them. So if I'm on the phone with somebody and I say, hey, assuming we were to work together, and of course, neither one of us knows if it's a good match right now, but what are you hoping to accomplish? And they said, well, Frank, what I want to do is I want to build a jetpack that can move buildings with my mind, and then I want to telepathically communicate with the president and have him order 20 billion of these from me. I would know right then and there I can't help that person, and then I wouldn't need to be messing around with the call. But if they said something like, well, I want to get more clients and I was hoping you could help me, then I would move to extremely high pressure phase two, which is to ask them what's going on now, right? And so this is really important. As simple as it sounds, it's really important. Your client or prospect, they're here, they want to get here. They're doing stuff that's got them here. There's a system that they have in place, a series of activities they do on a regular basis that's delivering their current results. You want to find out what that is so you can know.
Would you like to hear basketball, cricket, golf, hockey, motorsports, soccer, or tennis?
Trying to do a webinar on Facebook, Siri. Gosh, dang Siri. Anyway, they're doing some stuff that's getting them results now, right? Like, so you want to ask them, hey, what are you doing right now? What's like, so when we do it and I've got someone that says, hey, I want to get more clients, I might say something like, great, how many clients are you getting a month now? And they might say 4. I might say, well, how many more do you want to get? I might say, well, I want to get 4 more. I might say, okay, cool. What do you got going on? And they'll tell me. And when they tell me, I know I can help someone get that many more clients, and B, when I hear what they're doing in my brain, I'm able to be like, oh, okay, I know exactly what this person needs to do. Therefore, am I 100% certain I can help them? Check. Do I know how I'm going to help them? Check. So once that stuff is in place, and by the way, this part of the conversation could take 5 minutes, it could take 30. It just depends on how long your prospect talks, right? Because you ain't got to really do anything except listen and ask questions. But finally, you'll get to the point where, assuming you believe the statement to be 100% true, you say this. This is the hardcore closing statement. Number 1, here you go. You say, based on what you told me, I'm 100% confident I can help you. I'd love to have you as a client. What questions do you have for me? And then you stop talking and you let them ask their questions, right? And so here's what you're doing right there. They got on the horn with you because they're interested in becoming a client. At the end of the day, they're like, maybe this person can help me. I don't know. We'll see. They're feeling you out. You tell them with a perfect 100% confidence based on the fact that you know you can help them, that you can help them, and you open the door. I'd love to have you as a client. It's kind of like a little softball, not an attempted close, but putting it out there. And then you say, what questions do you have for me? And then you shut up and let them ask their questions, because they're going to have a bunch of questions like, well, how specifically are you going to help me? How does the program work? Remember earlier when I was like, hey, you need to know exactly how you're going to help them, and you need to know exactly what your deliverable is. That's why I'm telling you that, because they're going to ask you, right? So they'll ask you. You answer 100% transparently and honestly. Even if stuff's a pain in the butt, you tell them, right? Like if you work with us, if you become a client of mine and our little thing that we have that is ridiculously inexpensive, here's what you're going to experience. At first, you're probably going to experience a little bit of confusion and maybe even overwhelm, because you're going to be changing the way you've been doing some stuff. And then you're going to experience some frustration because you're going to try some new things. And unless a miracle occurs, the new things you try aren't going to work immediately. It's like nothing ever works immediately. Sometimes it does, but it's pretty rare. And then that'll be followed by some hard work, which will be followed by results, which will be followed by a sense of relief and peace, right? And so that's what you can realistically expect. Now, notice I gave you the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think you should give your clients the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So answer everything just like as if you really don't care if they become clients or not. Your mission is to serve them as best as you can during that conversation to help them make an educated decision. So answer the questions, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, they stop asking questions. And now, make this joke all the time. You move in for the really high pressure kill. Here it is. I like making that face. Okay. You say, again, well, I'm 100% confident I can help you. I would love to have you as a client. What do you want to do? This phrase here, what do you want to do? That's secret code for you want to become a client or what? Right? But you don't say it like that unless you want to. You got good rapport, you can. Now, here's what's going to happen when you say that. One of three possibilities. Number one, they might say, "Cool, sweet. I was hoping that it would be a good match, and I think we are." And that happens. That's not that uncommon. I wouldn't expect it to happen every time, but it happens, which is great. Sometimes they're like, I don't think so. And I want to tell you what to do during this situation. If they say, I don't really think it's for me, what I want you to say is the following. And it's a very complicated script. I expect you to remember it all. It's not complicated. You go like this. Okay, cool. Well, is there anything else I can help you with? Then they'll say no, and you say bye. And the reason why is you just saw the numbers, right? It's not that hard to get qualified conversations. Like you saw what I'm running is not rocket surgery. We can get in front of the entire world. There are plenty of prospects out there. There's absolutely no need to put yourself through the psychological discomfort of having to twist somebody's arm, nor is it necessary to put someone else through that type of discomfort. They don't want to work with you. Who gives a damn? Next. Great word. Next. Okay. So most people will not say either of these things, by the way. Most of them will say the feared phrase, I want to think about it. That's the most likely thing that's going to happen at the end of your conversation. It sounds pretty good. Let me think about it. Okay. So people get freaked out about this. There are books written, or at least chapters of books written on how to handle the I need to think about it objection. Let me tell you something. I need to think about it is not an objection. I need to think about it is plain English for, hey, you know what? I'm a totally normal and rational person, and I like to take my time when I'm making important and significant life decisions, especially when they involve a lot of money. That's all that means. Doesn't mean you've done a bad job. Like, who in their right mind immediately goes, yeah, okay? Like, sometimes they do if they already know you and they've been following you a long time and you've delivered a tremendous amount of value up front, and they've like consumed a lot of your content or whatever, then it might happen. But generally, like, pretty rare. You usually date a little bit before you get married, right? So normal. So here's what you do when somebody says this, okay? You go like this. You say the unthinkable, which is, okay, what do you want me to do? So this isn't a trick. You're not trying to disarm them or, get into some sort of, track or something, sales process, etc. You're literally saying, okay, no problem. A lot of people have to think about stuff. What do you want me to do? And usually they're going to say something like, hey, why don't you follow up with me? And then you'll say, when? And then you'll set the time for a follow-up conversation. Now, if they're like, I don't know, then you ask them, would you like me to follow up with you in a couple days? And then they'll probably say yes. And then they do, you say, when? And then you set the follow-up conversation. Now, if you say, okay, what do you want me to do? And they're like, I don't know. And then they say, and then you say, you want me to follow up with you in a couple of days? They're like, no, I'll call you. That means they really don't want it. And they just don't have the guts to tell you they don't want it. And that's fine. I'd still follow up with them anyway, just to make sure. But they probably don't want it. And they're probably just messing around. Who gives a damn? There's plenty more of them, right? So normally what's going to happen is the person's going to say, I need to think about it. You're going to say, okay. You're going to set up a follow-up conversation. It's going to be a totally zero stress conversation. You're going to call them and a couple of things will happen. Some of them, they'll never pick up the phone again. Why? Because they were too chicken shit to tell you that, they didn't want it, which is normal. A lot of people are like that. Sometimes I'm conflict avoidant like that. As a matter of fact, we've all done it, right? So some folks will ghost you, as they say. Some, when you follow up with them, will be like, I thought about it. It's not for me. At which point you're like, okay, see you later. And some of them will say, yeah, seems like a pretty good call, and that's usually preceded by a few more questions. So that For that approach is why we only have like a 33% close rate on a strategy session type of thing. Because I don't believe in going like for the throat. When you're taking on a client, you're dealing with them for usually a pretty good amount of time, and life is just too damn short to push somebody into something, and now you're trapped in this relationship with them. It's a whole lot better if everybody's excited to get going. So anyway, do with this information what you will, but it works very, very well. Here's the bottom line. The reason this works so well is because you're having qualified conversations to begin with, right? Like with the strategy I just showed you, they see content from me, that's actually helpful, you know, crazy idea, right? And so they see like a long video of me that's actually helpful. Then they see more stuff that's actually helpful. And it's always saying, hey, if you need more help, set up a time to talk. And then during that conversation, it's helpful. So we're talking to qualified people. So if you really are focused on just getting qualified people, the sales process that I just outlined, it should work fine for you. You shouldn't have to do any like unpleasantry or be weirded out by it or anything like that. So with that said, your real focus should actually be on generating qualified conversations. And that qualified conversation, again, means like your perfect person knows you, likes you, knows you can help, wants you to help, knows what you do, knows how much you cost, and can pay you, right? That's the mission. And so if you just focus on getting those things, you're going to be okay. So I built and recorded this webinar earlier. Now I'm doing this for you live. It's now like, what if it was recorded and that whole Siri thing was recorded? Yeah, 4:40 right now on February 12th. Lovely day. Anyway, the reason I built this was for two reasons. Number one, to help folks simplify this process, because I've been watching the education about it. I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be that complicated. You could just do this. So I did want to help you simplify it. And the other reason is because it's a great way to use the old demonstrate you can help them by actually helping them trick to generate leads. So if you would like us to help you create a consistent flow of qualified conversations and coach you up on closing them and kind of guide you through that whole process of systemizing, or is it systematize? I think it's systemizing, not systematizing. Whatever. Systemizing that process. We would be delighted. Go to kerncall.com. When you go there, you'll see a pretty fancy page I built myself using JotForm, mostly multiple choice. Ask you what you're doing, what you're selling, what you hope to accomplish on the call, normal stuff like that. From there, you can schedule a call, unless you say that you're a beginner or something. We're not that great at beginners. Sorry. But if you go to kerncall.com, schedule a consult with us. Here are some of the things that we might work on together, depending really on what you need, right? So some folks need help defining their offer, which is cool. So, okay, well, who do you want? What are their pain points? What type of work schedule do you like to have? And then we help you define, okay, here's exactly what you might want to be arranging there. Some folks are getting the wrong time. This is really super common, by the way. Some folks are getting the wrong people and they want different people. So we help you get clear on who those people are and what they want and how they get it so you can attract them. Some folks need some help creating a plan to have people coming to you, how to systemize all the processes that I kind of outlined for you today, however briefly. If you need help dialing in your closing conversation, we can talk about that. Help you grow if you're already doing pretty good. We can advise you on that. This is a free consult, and the purpose of the consult, you're never going to guess. The purpose of the consult is to use the oldest trick in the book, which is to demonstrate we can help you by actually helping you. And then we might say something like, hey, you want to become a client? And in the event you do, it is not a gazillion dollars. You can get started for $1,800. And so I'm not going to try to sell you one or whatever. It might not be a good fit for all I know. But only one way to find out, which is to go to kerncall.com. Super low key. We use the exact same method I just taught you, so it's not anything obnoxious or horrible. And you know what? If you don't want to become a client, it's fine. You already know our objection handling sequence. If you say, I don't think I want to become a client, we're going to say, okay, cool. Anything else we can help you with? All right, take it easy. And that's it, because there are so many prospects out there for everybody's business, right? And this is great. We really, truly live in a golden age, which is awesome. So go to kerncall.com. Bask in the glory of how well designed that web page is. Thank you very much. Built it myself. Took forever. No idea what I'm doing with the tech stuff, but it still worked amazingly, right? There are two slight catches to this whole thing. I told you one already. We're bad at newbie. I wish we weren't, but we are. So if you are a total beginner, we're just not that great. We help we help people with forward momentum, like go faster. So if you're a total newbie and you don't have any business or anything like that, you're not going to like it. It's not going to be helpful for you. On top of that, there are only two people in the world that are qualified to advise you. I don't have like a huge sales floor or something. I got two folks and only two that actually know what they're talking about well enough to answer your questions and give you good, solid advice, and then discuss our program with you in the event that you want them to discuss the program with you. So those are the two catches. If those are okay with you, certainly okay with me, go to kerncall.com and, fill out the little thingy there and jump on the horn and see if we can do some good for you. And thus concludes my experiment in seeing if you can do a webinar presentation on the Facebooks. So it looks like it didn't break. All right. So let's see. How do I stop sharing my screen? Oh, look at that. I removed it from the. I got to tell you, man, I'm using this little app called StreamYard. And boy, is it ever something, right? This is a good application. Well, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me on this thing. Pretty good. See a couple questions in there, but you know what? I'm realizing right now it's 4:45, and I've got, what's today, the 12th? I've got barely over 24 hours before Valentine's Day. I think one of us needs to get their act together, and that person is me. So I'm going to roll and do a little shopping, a little pre-Valentine's Day shopping. Hope you all enjoyed this. Hope you found it beneficial. If you're on my list, you're going to get emails to see the recorded version that I made earlier. But after I recorded it, I was like, hey, man, I think I'll do this on the Facebooks. It seems to have worked out pretty good. Maybe they'll let me run this as an ad. You never know. Oh, we're live streaming YouTube as well. I forgot about that. This app, again, I'm using, so cool. It's called StreamYard. Yeah, streamyard.com. Lets you broadcast your screen. I'm just using the little webcam thingy on my computer that always makes me look beet red for whatever reason. I can't figure out how to get this logo thingy. Where is it off the top? Well, you see it. Anyway, I'm rambling. It's time to roll. I hope you found this helpful. Go to kerncall.com if we can help you. We'd love to. All right. Take it easy, y'all.